All right. Lamar Jackson has a mysterious illness. Jonathan Taylor makes a strong case for MVP. The Eagles make a statement. The Titans make the opposite statement. And the Bears do what the Bears do, and that's find a way to lose. All that and more coming up on the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. All right, here we go. Welcome back to another edition of the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast, week 12 of the 2021 season. We want to invite you to join our Patreon community. There you can find all of our stuff. We got individual game analysis, Fantasy Central, weekly pick and contests, and more. And we are looking to expand in our third season next year, so you should hop on board now and get in with us. Go to www.horseandsports.com right now to join us. We certainly appreciate the support. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, before you go, hit the subscribe button. You know all this. You don't need me to tell you this. And the bell icon so you never miss any content. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter at Horseman Sports. And did we mention that you can catch both shows, the Weekly Breakdown and Fantasy Central with Zach and Hefe on WUBI, Ubiquity Radio on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And with that said, I want to give a big shout out to Anthony Johnson, our boy, DJ Balo. He is he's in the hospital fighting some kind of an illness. They look decent on Facebook today, but he's certainly in the hospital. We know it's serious. I don't know exactly what it is, but we certainly wish him the best and hope he gets well. He's the one that makes everything go at WUBI. So we hope you get better, Anthony.
Shout out, DJ.
Yep. All right. So let's get started with our weekly Pigskin Pick'em leaders. Congrats to Todd Haney. He got 10 right this week. I don't even have any idea how the hell he did that. Trey Davis is right behind him with 9. Me, on the other hand, I took the Jags like a jag off. I took the Cowboys like a jack off, and fuck those Vikings. Every week, man. Every week. Anyway, all right. Who's our bye week this week?
Cardinals and the Chiefs.
Cardinals and the Chiefs. I think both teams could use some time off to heal up, make a run. The Chiefs looked pretty good yesterday. They took care of their business with the Cowboys. I don't know if I didn't watch the game. I don't know if it was the Chiefs playing exceptionally well or the Cowboys doing, what the Cowboys do, and that's find a way to not win a playoff game. But, Cardinals got a tough race. They're looking for the number 1 seed as well. Tighten up. Any big news with those two teams you want to talk about this week?
Well, I think, if you look at what Colt McCoy has been able to do with this team, he's won 2 out of 3 games for the Cardinals, and they were able to keep Kyler Murray out and let him keep healing. DeAndre Hopkins, another game out. Like, they're winning guys without their best 2 players on the entire team. The Cardinals right now look like the hardest out in the entire NFL. When they get healthy after this bye week, I don't see them losing another regular season game, which is going to be tough because, one of the hottest teams in the NFL is the Colts. We root for the Colts, and the Cardinals play the Colts there at the end of the season. So it's going to be, can't wait for that matchup. But right now, the Cardinals just look unstoppable.
Are they the favorites to win the Super Bowl right now, in your opinion? I don't know what the Vegas lines is. I haven't looked at that, but in just your guys' opinion, are they the favorites to win the Super Bowl right now?
I was just getting ready I wasn't going to use the word Super Bowl, but I was just going to say.
Wait, can we even say that?
I don't know. I'm going to say it.
All right.
I with what happened with the Packers, I know it's an interconference game, and the Vikings are dangerous. And anybody's beatable. The Cardinals have dropped 2 games. I think the Cardinals, I certainly have to pick them as the top NFC team. And I think the NFC might be a little bit stronger than the AFC this year. So there's a very good possibility.
Yeah, I think, again, the way they've played without their best players, it'd be ridiculous to think anybody else in the league should be above them when it comes to Super Bowl odds.
I am looking it up right now, and the Buccaneers are still the favorites.
Yeah,
On
well,
the Vegas lines.
okay.
Cardinals are fourth.
Yeah, okay. Well, then you ought to put your money on the Cardinals because I think that's going to change. And not that they're a lock to go to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, but I certainly think they probably have the best odds right now. I'll save that for later. We'll talk about the Eagles later. Okay, we ready to move on to our games?
Get to it.
All right. Is this a Thursday night game? Dude, nobody wants to watch this.
We have 3 games on Thursday, Thanksgiving.
Oh.
Whoa.
Snap. Oh, well, then that's why they put this Bears-Lions game on, because they knew that's the only way people would watch, is if it was the only game on TV that day. What a shit show this is going to be. It's in Detroit. The Bears, I watched the end of the game, and they had it, and they just literally shit all over themselves. I don't know who's going to win this game. It's an interdivision game. By all rights, the Bears should win, right? But the Lions can be scrappy. They're at home. The more they lose, the better the odds of them winning. And I'm going to try to will them a win this week, and I'm taking the Lions.
Yeah, the Bears, man. I spoke too soon yesterday. I texted you guys. I was like, oh, yeah, I switched my pick to the Eagles and the Bears. And about a minute and a half later, the Ravens march right down and score a touchdown and end up beating the Bears. So I shot myself in the foot there. I thought they were going to pull it off, but the Bears do what the Bears do. The Lions, they do what they've always done. They're 0-9-1 right now.
The Lions do bite kneecaps, so they are doing something.
Yeah, true. This is going to be a snooze fest. Thank goodness it's the first game of the day when everybody's just going to be starting to eat. I think this game comes on 12:30 Eastern time. So there probably won't be a whole lot of viewership. People definitely won't be paying much attention to it. And Justin Fields, I don't know the injury report on him, but he went out last game. Andy Dalton took over. I would assume that they're going to hold Fields out this game since it's a very short week. But Andy Dalton's more than capable of getting it done. However, because, like you said, Brad, the more the Lions tend to lose, the higher their odds are that they're going to win. And because it's Thanksgiving and they're at home, who knows? Maybe they might be celebrating, eating some turkey legs after the fact. So even though the Bears are favored by 3.5, I'm going to take the Lions in an upset at home.
Both of you taking the Lions. I really thought about taking the Lions in this position too. It's still something I'm considering. But look, Andy Dalton came into that game before Justin Fields left. He was 4 for 11 for 79 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, right? And then Andy Dalton comes in and obviously right away gets the big play to Darnell Mooney, puts him up 7-6 after that. And I mean, look, this Bears team isn't very good. So, the Lions are one of the only teams in the league that I have confidence in them actually beating. But Andy Dalton still had 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, even throwing for under 50% completion percentage himself. So when you compare Andy Dalton to, he's probably equal to Jared Goff. Tim Boyle, the fill-in for Jared Goff, that's probably going to be playing on Thursday night, if I had to guess, had 77 yards, no touchdowns. Like, he was absolute garbage. I have no faith that the Lions are going to be able to get it done with him, and so I'm going to pick the Bears.
All right, Hefe's taking the safe pick with the Bears, and Zach and I are trying to will a win. Say that 3 times fast for the Detroit Lions. All right, so these next 2 games on Thursday are the battles of teams trying to get their head out of their ass. The next one is the Raiders, the Cowboys, and then the final one's going to be the Bills at the Saints. All 4 teams did not have a good day yesterday. With the Raiders at the Cowboys, this is interesting. It's in Dallas. Dallas, I think, is the better team. I'm afraid that all the drama that's happening in Las Vegas is starting to finally catch up with them. I have to give Dallas the benefit of the doubt. They did lose to the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs have been struggling, but it is the Chiefs. There is a lot of firepower. There's a lot of good coaching there. But again, they are in Dallas, And I think I think the Cowboys are just trying to figure out how to put the consistently put the magic together. I think the Raiders are fighting to stay above water, so I'm taking Dallas.
Yeah, I feel the same way you do. The Raiders, they just had way too much adversity over the last couple months, and the ship is really beginning to sink now. They've lost 3 straight. They've lost to the Giants, the Chiefs, and the Bengals. Pretty much got blown out by the Bengals. I know it was closer game than you expected, but the Bengals pretty much dominated that entire game. The Raiders just are not looking good. They got a lot of turmoil going on in that organization. So hopefully in the future they'll bounce back, they'll get through it, but it's not going to happen this year. It's not going to happen this week. Unfortunately for the Las Vegas Raiders, they're going to get smoked by the Dallas Cowboys this week. The Raiders I think the Cowboys are favored by 7 here. I got them winning by at least 2 touchdowns.
No, it's completely understandable to take the Cowboys here. It seems logical, but they're going to be without Amari Cooper again. CeeDee Lamb on a short week. There's almost no chance of a player clearing concussion protocol, so they're going to be without him on Thursday also. So that leaves Michael Gallup, who has only played 3 games this season, as really their only receivers, because we saw Cedric Wilson in the Chiefs game drop 4 passes. You can't rely on him, and he's supposed to be the next best guy. When we talk about the 4th receiver, so I don't think they're going to be able to solve their offensive woes in this game, even against the Raiders, who have been pretty average on defense all year. I think they're going to be able to get pressure. Max Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue, I think they'll be able to bother Dak Prescott in this game and throw him off. And with the lack of receiver help that Dak's going to have, it's going to cause problems for them. There's going to be more drops. It's probably going to be a tipped interception at some point. And I just don't think Dallas, with them not being at full strength, I can't pick them to win this game. So I'm taking the Raiders on the road.
All right. Hefe's making his move in the pigskin pick'em contest. He's Zach and I are taking the Cowboys, and Hefe's taking the Raiders. I mean, we picked 2 games, and Hefe has gone the opposite direction in both. So it's a bold strategy, Cotton.
I did make a little bit of headway on you guys. Todd Haney did better than me, but I did better than both of you. So
that's a good point.
I got you this week.
That's a good point. Okay, so the next game up is the Bills and the Saints, and there ain't nobody. I don't care who you listen to. I don't care. There ain't nobody that's got this game figured out. I can't figure out what's wrong with the Bills. I can't figure out what the Saints are going to do from week to week. I don't even know that. I think they're coaching with Sean Payton and always being a high class organization is keeping them afloat. They're at 500. Just trying to find their identity. The Bills have gone from being everyone's favorite pick for the AFC to now they're not even going to win their division, because we all know who's going to win their division now, don't we?
Yeah.
I'm going to make you say it, Hefe.
Yeah, we'll get to the cheaters later. I mean, the Patriots.
So the Bills are in a lot of trouble. And now they're on the road going to New Orleans Thursday night on Thanksgiving on a short week. I want to pick the Bills because I still believe they're the better team, but they're struggling, and the Saints are at home, and I think I'm going to take the Saints.
Interesting. So, yeah, the Bills, the last 5 games, they've lost 3. They lost to Tennessee, Jacksonville, and got stomped by the Colts this past weekend. Yeah, it was pretty bad. But I actually give credit more to the Colts there rather than the Bills just playing bad, even though they haven't been playing very well. Like I said, they've lost 3 out of the last 5. The only 2 games they won in between those was against Miami and the New York Jets. So not a very good resume. But on average, they're still only giving up 17.5 points a game. They're still scoring almost 30 points a game. They still have all the talent in the world. They're just going through a very tough spot. Eventually, they will come together. They will pull it together, and they will start to put it on some teams. Whether or not it happens this week, I don't know. But luckily for the Bills, they're playing the Saints, who have lost 3 in a row themselves. They have their third string quarterback starting, Trevor Siemian. Alvin Kamara's been out. I would expect him to be back this week, but with how good the Bills' defense is, generally, not this past weekend against the Colts because they just got completely demolished, but generally with how good the Bills' defense is, maybe they'll be able to shut down Kamara just enough to pull it out here. They're favored by 4. I'm going to take the Bills to win, but I think it's going to come down to a field goal at the end.
I think this is going to be a pretty good game. There's a chance the Bills dominate this game and it gets ugly for sure. But the Bills, if you want to talk about the Bills and Colts game, the Bills had a lot of guys between COVID-19 and injuries. A lot of their starters were out, and they apparently don't have the depth to be able to combat that. But also, they can't run the ball. We've kind of known it all year like that. They have to pass the ball. And in the conditions that it was in Buffalo, once it started raining as hard as it did and the wind picked up, like they were screwed. But they're going to play in a dome this week. It's going to be a very loud environment, especially on Thanksgiving, and it's the night game. But the Bills are used to playing in wild crowds. They have one of the wildest crowds there is. They have so much talent, and I will continue to say that Trevor Siemian is not that guy, pal. And I have no faith that he's going to win the game. If anything, he'll throw an interception on the drive that he needs to take a team down to win. He'll throw an interception on that drive. So I'm going to take the Bills to have a comeback game here and beat the shit out of the Saints.
All right. You talked me into it. Zach, your point about that the Bills could win I think it was Zach, it might have been you, Hefe. One of you said that this could be a blowout with the Bills. And I thought, you know what? It could be a blowout with the Bills. And I tried to envision it the other way, and I can't envision it being a blowout with the Saints. And so with that, I'm going to switch my pick. We're all three going with the Bills.
Oh, that's what we're doing now. Okay.
That's what we're doing. Yeah. I could let you go first, and then I could just repeat what you say and sound smart. But I gotta say, I still don't know. This is a game. Like I said, these with the Raiders, the Cowboys, and the Bills and the Saints, all 4 of these teams need to win. And so these hopefully they make for good games for that reason. All right, next up is the Steelers at the Bengals. The Steelers are trash, man. Their organization. I like Mike Tomlin. I think that's the only reason they're hovering around 500 themselves. But I don't. I think they've got that put together with duct tape and string. And the Bengals appear to just be figuring it out. I don't think they have figured it out. I don't think they're ready to win a playoff game, though I think they could. But I think they're just on the verge of really getting it together. They're on the upswing. The Steelers are just doing everything they can to tread water. They're in Cincinnati. I'm taking the Bengals.
Yeah, way back September 26th, the Bengals went to Pittsburgh and took them down 24-10. This week, they're playing in Cincinnati. Tale of two tapes here. The Bengals are on the rise. The Steelers are not looking good. They seem to either be stagnant or digressing. So I'm taking Joe Burrow and the boys over the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are favored by 3.5, and I think they will cover that spread this week.
Yeah, this was a tough game for me to pick. After what we saw from the Steelers, late in the game against the Chargers, kind of makes you rethink a couple things. Can this offense stay explosive? But I feel like we see this every couple games from this team where they get down and then, Big Ben and that offense find a rhythm in the third and fourth quarter and almost win the game or win the game. It happened last season when the Steelers played the Colts. And so this game here is tough to pick. I try to take my bias against Steelers out of it and pick logically because I'm not all that confident in the Bengals either. I like Mike Tomlin a lot, and I think he's a great coach. So he's going to have the Steelers ready to play. Can Zach Taylor do the same in a big division game? That's a big question for me here. But ultimately, I think even with the Steelers probably getting a bunch of guys back on that defense from the COVID-19 list, I do think that they're just not the same defense that we're used to from the Steelers, and that Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and those guys, they'll be able to do enough through the pass game. And Joe Mixon has done a great job running this year. I mean, the Bengals have been pretty damn balanced this year. So I think when it comes down to it, the Bengals offense can make more plays than the Steelers offense. And I think that the Bengals defense is slightly better than the Steelers defense. So I'm going to take the Bengals at home.
Okay, we're all three taking the Bengals. And I don't know if this comes into play. I mean, the Steelers organization, the Steelers always believe they can win, and I think that's to their advantage. But I think the Bengals, I don't know if they believe that they would be 6-4. I sure as hell didn't believe they'd be 6-4 at the beginning of the year. And there's something said about that kind of momentum and that kind of belief that, hey, we're really onto something, and that will to win. But we'll see, right? And it's an interdivision game. Hopefully it's a really good game. All three of us are taking the Bengals. All right, next game up, the Bucs at the Colts. This is a tough one. It should be a tough one for anybody. As we're recording this, the Bucs have yet to play this week. They play tonight on Monday night. But I want to talk about the Colts for a second. This is the Colts team we have been talking about for a year, since Carson Wentz. Not really completely a year. I mean, we talked about how good they were last year. And then when Wentz came into the picture, 9 months ago, whatever it was, this is the team that we talked about, that we envisioned about 9 months ago. Wentz is flat out balling. This offense, Jonathan Taylor is just getting better every game. He's a beast. I know you've got injuries. You're still. I know you've got injuries. You've got COVID-19 protocol. You got the whole thing, right? But Sean McDermott is a hell of a coach that runs a top-notch program, and we've seen in places, and I know they're struggling, right? But we've seen play like in New England when Tom Brady would go down and Jimmy G would step in, or I can't even remember the other guy now. But
Matt Castle.
Yeah, thank you. There's continuity to it. And so they may not be as good as they were, but there still should be some continuity in Sean McDermott's program, what he's built there. And the Colts just went in yesterday and kicked the shit out of them. There wasn't anybody's doubt in my mind who the better team was yesterday. And I think we're seeing a trend with that from the last couple of weeks. To go back to everything we said at the beginning of the year, Wentz came in with his ego bruised from last year, had a horrible year. And you have a horrible year in a place like Philly, it's compounded because the Philadelphia fans, they are relentless. They love you hard when you're good, and they will just shred you when you're not. The guy comes in here battered and bruised. A lot of people have written him off. He comes in here. Wasn't he on COVID? Didn't he? I wasn't on the COVID protocol, and then he broke his foot. I mean, essentially his preseason, and they play one less preseason game. Essentially, his preseason was over at about week 5, and we've seen him get better and better and better since about that point. And yesterday, the last 2 weeks have just been really, really good. So my point is, I didn't pick the Colts last week for that reason, because I wasn't sure if we were going to see consistency, but I'm starting to see a pattern here. The Bucs, on the other hand, are 6-3, which is still, they could still end up, 14-3 or whatever the case may be. I don't want to kick them while they're down. But I just think the Colts right now are maybe emerging as the best team in the AFC before this is over. And they're going to be at home off a big win off Buffalo. And I'm taking I'll make this short. I'm taking the Colts.
Yeah, so I'm sitting here looking at the Buccaneers' schedule that they played so far, and really, if you look at their resume, they don't have a very impressive record so far. I mean, obviously, you're 6-3, you're winning 6 games in the NFL. That's impressive in itself. However, they had a 2-point win against Dallas in the very first game of the season. They beat the Atlanta Falcons. We know how bad Atlanta is right now. They lost to the Rams. They had a 2-point win against New England. They beat the Dolphins. They beat the Eagles by 6 points. They destroyed the Bears. You know how bad the Bears are. Then they've lost to the New Orleans Saints and the Washington football team. Obviously, they play the New York Jets here on Monday Night Football. We don't know that result just yet. But so really, they haven't been very impressive this entire season, and their passing defense has just been completely horrible. The last few weeks, their offense has struggled. So the key for me with this game against the Colts is the Colts defense. This defense has been flying high. They've been creating turnovers. They've been stepping up and doing the things necessary that they need to do to win a game. And then you throw on the fact that Jonathan Taylor's out here looking like the most valuable player of the entire NFL, putting up 5 touchdowns in a game, which I saw a stat since the Super Bowl era started. There's only been 3 running backs that have done that. Clinton Portis, I don't know how long ago, and Alvin Kamara last year, and Jonathan Taylor last Sunday was the third one to put up 5 touchdowns in a game. So you have a great defense. You have the best running back in the league. And then you have a guy as talented as Carson Wentz who's able to come in there and manage a football game. And just his passing ability and his rushing threat that he provides put you over the top. And there's no wonder that the Colts have won 6 out of their last 8, and the 2 games they dropped in between there were losses in overtime. So really, they could have won the last 8 games. I mean, they'd probably be the number 1 seed right now. So yeah, this Colts team is looking very, very, very dangerous. As long as we can keep the play calling going, which I think they kind of understand now, give Jonathan Taylor the ball and good things are going to happen. So if we stick to that game plan, this week it's going to be tough because the Bucs have pretty good rushing defense, but Jonathan Taylor's that kind of guy where he's going to nullify that and he's still going to be able to make plays. So the Bucs are really going to have to account for him, which is going to open up the outside, and hopefully Wentz and Michael Pittman, T.Y. Hilton, Jack Doyle, Mo Alley Cox, all these guys can step up and haul in these passes from Carson Wentz. So it was kind of a toss-up to me until I started really diving deep into this. But I really think that the Colts are going to beat the Buccaneers this week.
Yeah, there are a couple things that Zach was just saying that I want to talk about, because I think for all the criticism that even we as fans, we've talked about Frank Reich and his play calling when it mattered most. If you look at the last 2 games, Frank Reich has called some pretty damn good games, especially this one against the Bills. This one obviously meant a lot to him. He was emotional in his post-game presser. As you would imagine, beating the Bills is a big deal for him. So I think Frank Reich, like Zach was mentioned, he called a great game. We've seen better from him lately, more consistency from him lately, and he's doing what he needs to. You give Jonathan Taylor the ball. Jonathan Taylor had like 35 touches in this last game. Just keep doing that. You get 200 yards and a couple touchdowns every game from one person on your team. You're going to have a pretty good chance of winning, especially with the defense that gets turnovers the way they do, which they now, again, lead the league. And when you talk about Jonathan Taylor, this is a strength versus strength game, right? The Bucs have a great run defense, but we have Jonathan Taylor. And what do we just see? The Bucs have a great run defense, but the Bills had the best run defense in the league going into that game, and Jonathan Taylor did what he did. So it seems matchup proof. That offensive line is healthy. Quentin Nelson left the game but could have come back in if we needed him to. But even if Quentin Nelson leaves another game, we still have Chris Reed, who's switching reps with Mark Glowinski at right guard anyway. So we still have 5 guys even when Quentin gets hurt. So, there's just all the confidence in the world right now with the Colts. Like Zach mentioned, it'd be 8 straight wins if not for the 2 late collapses and overtime that happened. So they're a dangerous team, and the Bucs they've been vulnerable for a long time. And, I predicted them to lose to the Giants on Monday Night Football. We haven't seen whether that happened or not yet. But I think the Colts will be able to take advantage of the weaknesses that the Bucs have and win this game.
Yeah, so I want to touch on a couple things that you guys talked about. First, Zach, Clinton Portis did it in 2003 against the Chiefs. I actually looked that up because I guessed that it was around 1999, 2000, but I wasn't sure. It was actually 2003 against the Chiefs. Something of note, Hefe, you were talking about the Bills having the best defense. They also had the most. They were number 1 in the league with points off turnovers going into yesterday's game. They gave up 4 turnovers to the Colts, and ironically, now the Colts are number 1. They're first in points off turnovers. They lead the NFL. So there's a flip flop on the same field yesterday for that. I think they're plus 15 on takeaways versus giveaways. Is that what word I'm looking for? Anyway, and then I want to hit your point about Frank Reich. Look, I don't want to completely. I don't want to completely piss a bunch of Colts fans off, but I'm tired of the bitching and moaning about the quarterback, and I'm tired of the bitching and moaning about the coach. These people, some of these people don't even know what the hell they're talking about. I thank God they stopped talking about Jacoby Brissett, because that went on until about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Look, Frank Reich is learning like everybody else. He's a new coach. You got a guy like Belichick that's been doing it 25, 30, 35 years, or however long he's been doing it. You got a guy like Frank. What is this, his third year?
Fourth or fifth now, yeah.
Okay. So the guy is still getting better every game, right? He's going to make decisions, but I think Frank Reich is smart enough. He's shown with his track record through the NFL what he's done. He's risen up through the ranks for a reason, because guys like that learn from their mistakes. So I think that goes to what you were talking about. This team can win the Super Bowl. This is what we talked about last summer. Will they? I don't know. There's a lot of good teams. Anything can happen. Injuries, fluke games. There's a whole lot that can happen. But this team certainly has what it takes. They are a Super Bowl contender, as is. And that's because Frank Reich is coaching and Carson Wentz is their quarterback. And I'm going to leave it there. We're all three taking the Colts. All right, next game up is the Carolina Panthers at the Miami Dolphins. I don't know. I thought Cam was going to do it, and he couldn't do it yesterday. So I don't know. Does anybody care? I guess we still have to go over the game, huh? I can't watch a Dolphins game while Tua's playing. We've reached that point where I can't watch Tua play anymore. It's driving me crazy. And that's not really fair, because not all the Dolphins' problems should be on Tua's shoulders, but not having a quarterback not having the right quarterback causes a lot of problems everywhere else. I don't know. I pick a team. I'm taking the Dolphins.
Yeah, I've said it all season long. No matter what I do with the Carolina Panthers, they completely do the opposite. I believe last week I had them winning, and they lost to the Washington football team. So, but I have to keep on trucking away. I think Carolina is a better football team. I do like what Cam did last week. He looked decently impressive for being his first game back in a completely new system than what he's used to. So the Dolphins have won 3 in a row. It's kind of hard to go against that, but 2 of those wins came against the Jets and the Houston Texans, so you can't really give them too much credit there. So I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers again, and because I'm saying that the Panthers are going to win this game, Hefe, you should probably take the Dolphins.
This is another one of those games I really had to think about. I didn't know which way I should go in this one, because I thought Tua played pretty well. Probably, one of the better games of his career, maybe the best game of his career. Nice complete. He was 27 to 33, pretty close to 300 yards. He didn't turn the ball over. So, but this team, the Dolphins, could still barely beat the Jets, who have been absolutely horrible, like historically bad over the last month of the season. So, Cam Newton, I would like to see him in that offense and them go downfield more. He had 21 completions, but didn't even get to 200 yards, but he didn't turn the ball over either. So, with this offense, they're getting healthy. McCaffrey is McCaffrey again. This offense, I think, can start flowing again. Again, Cam, that was his first start. He's still getting used to this Matt Rule playbook, which is very different from what he used to. And I'm sure they have to insert new plans into what they do for what Cam can and can't do. And, it's still a learning process. But I still think that the Panthers are a better football team. I like their defense to make things difficult for Tua and the Dolphins' offense in this game, so I will be taking the Panthers.
All right, good. Zach and Hefe are taking the Panthers, and because the Panthers do exactly the opposite of what Zach picks, I'm taking the Dolphins, and I'm going to move one up on Zach and Hefe this week.
Told you should have taken the Dolphins, Hefe.
All right, this is a game I want to see. Big game right here. The Titans at the Patriots. Last week I wouldn't have been near as excited about this game as I am now, but the Texans put it on the Titans. Interdivision games, all bets go out the window. But the Patriots are for real. I started talking about it a couple weeks ago, and they are now back at the top of the AFC East, and no one expected them to be there, especially the Buffalo Bills. Belichick has got this team back, and they're tuning up, and they're going to make a playoff run. The Titans are coming off that loss to the Texans. They're coming into New England. I expect Belichick to be ready. The Titans don't have Derrick Henry, and I'm putting my money on Bills above himself and taking the Patriots.
Yeah, a couple things here. Number one, the Patriots, other than the Colts, but I would say the Patriots are probably the hottest team in the NFL right now. They've won 5 in a row, 6 out of the last 7. In that 7th game, they lost to Dallas in overtime. So just like the Colts, the New England Patriots, man, they are looking good. Mac Jones, probably my favorite to win Rookie of the Year at this point. The dude is out there balling out. I had his stats. Where is it? Yeah, he's thrown 14 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 2,500 yards. The Patriots are looking good defensively. The last 3 games, they've given up a total of 13 points, whereas they've scored almost 100. It's like 90-something. So, man, they are looking good. It's really going to be interesting to see what they do over the next 4 weeks. They have the Titans this week, followed by the Buffalo Bills, the Indianapolis Colts, and then the Bills again. If they can come out of there winning 2-3 games, they may just be the favorite to come out of the AFC. But let's keep it at this week. They're going against the Tennessee Titans, who were embarrassed last weekend. The Patriots are hot, and you just got to go with the hot team here. So I'm taking the New England Patriots to beat the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, what makes the Patriots so dangerous is the fact that we're getting later in the year when, weather is going to play a factor in a lot of football games. They can run the ball really well, and they can play really good defense. And this time of year, if you follow the NFL every year, those are the teams that win playoff games. And especially having a quarterback that, like Zach said, he has 2,500 yards, 14 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Like, that doesn't sound overwhelmingly great. But if you look at the recent history, he doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. Recently he's been, historically good at completion percentage over the last couple games. Like, he's doing his thing, and he's not turning the ball over. And that's another thing when you get later in the season, that's going to play a big factor. And I think what we saw from the Titans against the Texans is not an anomaly. I feel like some people think that's going to be an anomaly, but I think a couple games without Derrick Henry, people are starting to see what the offense looks like and the tendencies that Ryan Tannehill is going to have without Derrick Henry in the offense and without that play action working as well as it did. A.J. Brown gets hurt. He comes back in the game, but he's had issues staying healthy over the last 2 seasons. Julio is already on the IR right now, so he's definitely not going to be playing in this game against the Patriots. So right now there's nothing that tells me that the Titans are going to be able to win this game. Bud Dupree also on IR for that defense. So I'm unfortunately going to be taking the Patriots in this one.
Yeah, and I don't think our listeners really understand how hard that was for you to just say. Yeah, you tipped them off with the word unfortunately. And I want to break that down. You're a diehard Colts fan. You need the Titans to lose. By all rights, you should be like, I want the Patriots to smash the Titans. I want them to beat them down. But it's the Patriots with an Alabama quarterback. The 2 things that you loathe about football the most. Am I wrong?
No, not at all. I would much rather see the Titans win this game and the Colts end up in a wild card than see the Patriots win this game. But
now you're just talking nonsense. You're so emotional. You're just talking nonsense. I want to talk about we could talk about this. We'll talk about it a little bit later. I mean, the Colts got a good shot at winning this weekend, and the Titans have a good shot at losing this weekend. And what we talked about 2 weeks ago about this division being out of reach suddenly is not so far out of reach for the Colts. They're still climbing a hill. I mean, what we saw against the Texans with the Titans has to be indicative of what we're going to see over the next couple of weeks. What we saw with the Colts over the Bills has to be indicative of what we need to see over the Colts the next couple of weeks. But if those two things are definitely patterns developing, the Colts can still win this division, and that's mind-boggling. All right, let's move on. Did you want to say something?
No, I mean, I was just going to say it's going to be pretty difficult. The Colts are essentially, if the Colts win this week and the Titans lose, the Colts are still pretty much down 2 games because of the head-to-head tiebreaker with the Titans. And the Titans, the back end of their schedule seems pretty easy. They have the Jaguars, the Steelers, the 49ers, the Dolphins, and the Texans again. But if they continue to play they did this past weekend against the Texans, yeah, absolutely. But overall, with the analytical mind, the expert mind that we're supposed to have, I mean, you would think that the Titans would be able to do it, but it's football. People, they have highs, lows, teams catch on. So yeah, it's definitely possible. The Colts have a long ways to go, but who knows, man? That the Titans could just completely crumble and the Colts could catch fire and make a run like the Bucs did last season.
The Colts, the Colts are down 2 games down. They're down 2 games now, right?
They're down 2,
but there's right.
Thought we were down 4. Essentially 4. I thought we were down 3, but with the tiebreaker, it's technically like 4.
We're down 2. They're 8-3, and we're 5-5.
6-5.
6-5. Yeah, I'm sorry, 6-5. Yeah, so they're 8-3. We're 6-5. We're down 2. But we're essentially down
3.
Down 3 because of the tiebreaker.
So do that, it'd be 2. So then it'd be 1. It's possible.
Yeah, because on those teams that you just mentioned on the Titans schedule, if we're seeing a pattern, I mean, they just got beat by the Texans, right? It could be a fluke. They could get guys back. They could get it fixed. All those are very real possibilities. I don't mean to diminish them at all because I like what Vrabel's done. I think he's built a good team that as soon as the game was over, they started to try to figure out why it happened and prevent it from happening again. But the Steelers aren't going to be a pushover. What'd you say? The Steelers, the 49ers, they're,
Steelers, 49ers, Dolphins, Texans, Jaguars.
Yeah. So,
and the Patriots coming up.
And the Patriots. But, that's giving not the foregone conclusion. That's assuming they're going to lose. But they could drop 2 of those games. They're not going to lose to the Jags, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. But regardless, the Colts have to win out. I mean, I don't know. I think they could probably afford to lose one along the way, but they probably shouldn't if they want to guarantee they get in. All right, let's move on. Don't want to beat a dead horse. All right. Next game is the Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Giants. We're limited a little bit because the Giants have yet to play the Bucs on Monday night. Hefe's called for the upset, and we're all waiting with bated breath to see what happens there. Eagles are not as bad as we thought they were. And as a matter of fact, not only are they not as bad as we thought they were, they're actually better than I think Eagles fans thought they were going to be. I think the Eagles are getting their shit together. And I heard a little rumor about Jalen Hurts. Have you guys heard this rumor?
Nah, let's hear it.
He is tight with the Manning family.
I did hear about that, yep.
And there's a rumor that he's been receiving one-on-one personal coaching from the GOAT himself.
Tom Brady? Oh, just kidding. I had to play it. I'm just kidding.
I'm surprised Hefe just didn't throw his camera.
No, it's all right. I just got the Colts Nation email. You are absolutely eliminated from Colts Nation.
They're gonna be calling for Zach to be fired this week. Now, so if you put that together with what has been happening with Jalen Hurts over the last couple of weeks in this Eagles offense, you start to see a bigger picture. It may not be legit, but when I read that yesterday and then I watched what Jalen Hurts said yesterday, I thought, holy shit, this kid wants to play. I mean, he wants it. And and I read about some things that Archie said about him. Said that they picked him out of the. Remember when we went down to the Manning Passing Academy when you were younger, Zach?
Yeah.
Hurts came through the Manning Passing Academy, and Archie picked him out. Now, think about all those kids that were there the year we were there at the Manning Passing Academy, and all the kids that come there every year. Archie picked Jalen Hurts out, and he said that when he saw him, he immediately knew there was something different, something special about him, and that's why they have connected and stayed in contact. And he gets texts from all of them every week after the game, and now there's this rumor that Peyton may be working with him one-on-one. It tells me a lot about his mindset and his investment and the support he's got going on, and obviously the mentoring and the coaching. Jalen Hurts may be the quarterback of the future in Philadelphia, and the Philadelphia Eagles might find their way into the fucking playoffs this year. We said that 2 weeks ago, and we kind of laughed, right? We are like, can they make it in? We're like, I don't know. They may be making a run to squeeze in this final spot down here. I'm taking the Eagles. I'm on board. I'm gonna buy a green jersey. While you're talking, I'm gonna get on Amazon and do it right now.
We don't got to go that far with it. I mean, yeah, the Eagles. Last year I was predicting them to win their division. They are better than I thought they were going to be this year. They're definitely turning it on. They have a very unorthodox way of running the offense. Jalen Hurts is like that mobile quarterback who's pretty much going to pull it down and run it every single time, but it's working for him. They're averaging 27 points a game. They're only giving up 23.5 points a game. So that's your plus on your points per game to points allowed per game. So there's a lot of room for improvement. And if they keep playing the way they're playing, yeah, I think the Eagles definitely have a shot. Right now, they're half a game out of the wild card. How many games we got left? 6, 7 or something like that. So,
yeah, and let me run down their schedule real quick. I mean, they got the Giants. They certainly should win this game. I know it's an NFC East game, and the Giants are unpredictable, but I certainly think they should beat the Giants. They got the Jets. They got the Washington football team, another NFC East team, but they're at home in Philadelphia. They have the capability to beat Washington. The Giants again, Washington again, and the Cowboys. Boy, they're kind of stacked up the NFC East. That'll be like running through a gauntlet. I mean, it's possible. I'm not shooing them in, but it's possible.
Yeah, but I mean, the good news for them is that New York and Washington, it's all just right down the road. So it's not like they're going to be doing a whole lot of traveling in the next couple of months either, which will really help with their rest and keeping everybody healthy. I mean, making cross-country trips and all that stuff kind of wears on you. So that's definitely a little positive. I wouldn't say that's going to make a whole lot of difference, but hey, every little detail counts, which, to go off topic, I think it was Julian Edelman. I was watching a thing how Bill Belichick he pays attention to every single defense to the point where he tries to dictate what color gloves people are wearing. So like if you're in there making a block, if you have like a glove that's standing out compared to the opponent's jersey, the referees are more inclined to see that you're holding him. Whereas your glove, if it blends in with their jersey, they're less inclined to see it. So I thought that was interesting. Kind of a little tangent, but yeah. Anyways, I'm taking the Eagles this week against the Giants. I don't think the Giants are doing anything special. They're definitely heading the wrong way. I've been saying it all season long. The Eagles can, and they might just make it into the playoffs. It's all going to start with them beating the Giants.
This one, as evident of me picking the Giants to beat the Bucs. I think the Giants, a healthy Giants squad, can be dangerous to teams. But this Eagles team is also, like you guys were talking about, better than we thought they were going to be. And look, I know it might sound weird, but if you actually run the ball a couple of times a game, there's a better chance that you can fool the defense and win a game. And they ran all over the Saints. I mean, Jalen Hurts, 18 rushes. Sanders came back, had 16, and then Howard and Scott combined for another 16. Like it's insane to run the ball that many times. And I mean, they even threw the ball 24 times and still had that many rushes. They had a bunch of rushing yards in this game against the Saints. And, I think the Giants have the athletes on defense to be able to keep up with a rolling out Jalen Hurts or Miles Sanders. But I think the added element, the RPOs that they run or the read options that they run with Hurts, they're going to be a very difficult offense to stop. Do I think the Giants can do it? I think there's a chance that they're able to do it enough to keep this game somewhat close. But the Eagles over the last couple weeks have looked really good on offense. Darius Slay is leading that defense and getting touchdowns. He has 3 touchdowns over the last couple games. So they're adding points on defense. So, as much as I'd like to take the Giants, I do think the Eagles win this game.
All right. I don't know. Is this the first time we've all 3 taken the Eagles in the same week?
It's got to be.
I think so. Knowing full well that we might come back next week and be like, what were we thinking? All right. Next game up is the Falcons at the Jaguars. Either team can win this game. It's in Jacksonville, but fuck the Jags. I'm taking Falcons.
Yeah, it's sitting here looking at the stats, and it's pretty embarrassing. The Falcons are averaging 17.8 points a game. The Jags are averaging 15.9. The Falcons are giving up 28.8 points a game, and the Jags are giving up 26 points a game. So who knows? There is no spread because they are dead even on this. I don't know either, but I'm pulling for the Falcons just because the Jags are in the AFC South, and I'd like to see them lose. So taking the Falcons.
Yeah, go figure. The one time I have a little faith in the Jaguars. They beat the Bills, play the Colts close. So I was like, all right, yeah, they'll be able to beat the 49ers. Even after what the 49ers did to the Rams, I was like, nah, I'm just going to leave it and say the Jags will win it. And then they completely just they got their ass whooped.
Yep.
And,
I'm not doing it again.
Never doing it again. And especially because what it came down to for me for this game is Cordell Patterson. He changes that offense. We saw that, especially with Calvin Ridley out because of his mental health issues that are going on. Teams are taking away Kyle Pitts. You need Cordell Patterson there coming out of the backfield to free some things up and make a little extra space for the receivers that don't know how to get open on their own that are on that team. So, I think that's a big deal, and that's really all it came down for me. Cordell Patterson has a big game and leads the Falcons to a win.
All right, we are all 3 taking the Falcons. Next game isn't much better. It's the Jets at the Texans. Considering the Texans beat the Titans and they're at home, and I still think the Jets are a train wreck, I'm taking the Texans.
Yeah, I'm also going to take the Texans. They're favored by 3 at home, and I think it will be a close game. It'll come down to a field goal. But because the Texans look the best the following week or last week, I'm also taking the Texans. So,
yeah, this one I'm not real sure of because can Tyrod Taylor continue to be that entire offense and be successful? It's the Jets, so there's certainly a possibility. The Jets defense is god awful. But Flacco, didn't turn the ball over. I thought for sure he'd throw an interception to one of those really good corners the Dolphins have, and he didn't do it. And, the Texans are coming off a game where they had Tannehill throw 4 interceptions. So there's a chance Flacco messes up here, but it's really more of, Tyrod Taylor versus the Jets defense. What do I think is going to win? Probably Tyrod Taylor. So I will also be taking the Texans.
Okay, that was easy enough. Next game up is a little tougher. We've got an AFC West shootout. The Chargers are going into Mile High against the Denver Broncos. The Broncos got some quarterback problems. Chargers, were able to do it last night against the Steelers. I don't know. This game can go either way for me. I'm going to have to take the Chargers because I think they're the better team right now until the Broncos get their quarterback problems figured out. But I certainly believe the Broncos could win this game. This might be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, I think overall the Chargers are the better team between the two. However, this game is in Denver, and this Broncos defense is pretty darn good, man. They're giving up 18 points a game. That is 8 less than what the Chargers give up per game. So I think the Denver defense will step up at home. They will take care of business. As good as Justin Herbert is, he's still a second-year quarterback. He still has a lot to learn. So I think the Broncos defense puts the pressure on him, makes him make some mistakes, and they get the divisional win here against the Chargers at home.
And, if there's one thing I want to point out about this game is that the Denver defense and the Pittsburgh defense are very different this year. Denver has a very good defense, as Zach was alluding to with some of the stats there. And the Chargers, until they faced the Steelers, who had a bunch of starters out on defense, their offense had been struggling over the last couple of weeks. I think that's something we're going to see again. Again, this is a division game. These teams know each other well. The players have played each other for the last few years. So, anything can happen in this game. We know that, especially this season, anything can happen. I want to take the Chargers because of how good Justin Herbert is, how good that offense can be. But being in Mile High, I think that the Broncos defense is going to be able to create some turnovers and get to Justin Herbert at a pretty good clip in this game. And the offense does just enough to win this game. I could see, Broncos winning by a field goal or so.
All right. So both of you took the Broncos, huh?
Yeah.
All right. I'll stay with the Chargers. Maybe. All right. Next up is the Rams at the Packers. I'm not going to hold what happened. What happened last night with the Packers. I'm not going to hold the Packers responsible. I'm going to hold the Vikings responsible. But that's because I have a petty, immature, angry vendetta right now against the Vikings. What they've been doing to me for a year. The Rams struggled last week. They're coming across country, headed into Green Bay. I don't expect the Packers to lose 2 in a row at Lambeau. I'm still not sure how this OBJ thing's going to play out in LA. So I'm going to make this easy. I'm going to take the Packers.
Yeah, so you guys know how I feel about the Packers. I think they're definitely one of the better teams in the league. However, right now they are going through some very serious injury woes. They just lost another starting offensive lineman in Jenkins. I think he's out for the entire season. Not quite sure what's going on with star running back Aaron Jones. He may or may not be back, but the biggest thing is Aaron Rodgers having a very injured toe that was aggravated last game against the Minnesota Vikings. He was still able to put up like 4 touchdowns and almost come back and win the game against the Minnesota Vikings. But because of all the injuries that they're facing, they're kind of going through some adversity at the moment. And the Rams, I'm expecting them to kind of bounce back. I'm actually going to take the Rams this week, although the Green Bay Packers are more than capable of pulling this one out. But yes, I'm taking the Rams over the Packers in Green Bay.
Now, this was a game where I originally picked the Packers to win this game because I thought David Bakhtiari was coming back, and even though losing Elgton, right? There's a G in there. It's like Elgton. Elgton. Oh yeah, Elgton Jenkins. They lose him to a torn ACL, which sucks. He's a second-year player, really, really good offensive lineman. But I thought they were going to get David Bakhtiari back and then kind of help things out, even with Aaron's toe being a thing. It didn't stop him. He still almost had 400 yards, had 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. But I think the offensive line is going to be an issue in this one. You're missing a couple guys. Aaron isn't going to be as mobile as we're used to him being because of the toe. And they have Von Miller and Leonard Floyd and, the best defensive lineman in the league, Aaron Donald. And so I think they're going to get after Aaron Rodgers in this game and make it very difficult for him. They have the offense. Stafford has looked like Detroit Stafford over the last couple games for the Rams. So that needs to change. But he has Cooper Kupp. He has Odell Beckham Jr. And, of course, he has Darrell Henderson in the backfield to take some pressure off of him and a pretty good offensive line. So all in all, I just think the Rams should win this game. There's, of course, with Aaron Rodgers, there's a possibility Packers win this game, and I feel stupid for changing my pick here. But it just feels like the Rams are going to make things tough for Aaron all day and win this game.
Back to what we were doing. So you two are both taking the Rams, and I'm taking the Packers at home. Now, if I told you 3 weeks,
switch your pick?
No, if I told you 3 weeks ago that was going to happen, you guys wouldn't have believed me. I wouldn't have believed it. All right. Next up is the Minnesota Vikings at San Francisco 49ers. You know what makes me really mad? Is that I really want to take the Vikings here. But I'm not going to. I'm going to take the 49ers.
Oh. Well, I was going to take the 49ers, but because you are, I'm going to take the Vikings. That's how we're going to play this. Yes. The 49ers are favored by the 49ers are favored by 3 at home. I was really going to take them, but yeah, because you're taking the 49ers, I'm going to take Minnesota with the upset.
Now, this is a game, the way the 49ers are playing, I could definitely see them winning this game. I really thought about picking them, but I like the Vikings a lot. And even though that defense is average at best, I think they'll be able to put up the points. They can put up the points against pretty much anybody. Kirk Cousins, as much as we want to talk about how impressive Carson Wentz has been this year, Kirk Cousins has like 21 interceptions or 21 touchdowns and 2 interceptions this season, a ratio that we've seen from Aaron Rodgers over the last couple of years. It's been incredible for him and that offense. They've been able to stay healthy. Justin Jefferson, I think Kirk has finally realized you just throw the ball up. JJ's going to come down with it. Like, Justin Jefferson is a top 5 wide receiver in the league. Let him do his thing. And he proved it against the Packers. I think he proves it again here, even though they're playing another guy who's making a case for top 5 wide receiver right now. And that's Deebo Samuel, because he can do everything, whether it's from the running back position or the wide receiver position. Deebo Samuel seems to be a do-it-all guy. So, I'm probably going to go back and forth on this one a couple more times through the week, because I like what the Niners are doing. They've looked a lot better recently. But with the Vikings, I believe, have a better offense, in my opinion, and they'll be able to score more points here.
Okay, so I'm taking the 49ers because I can't take the Vikings. Zach's taking the Vikings because I picked against the Vikings, right? And Hefe, you're taking the Vikings.
Yep, but possible to change.
Possible to change. All right. So next game up is the Browns at the Ravens. I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I mean, Baker's not 100%. The Browns are in a lot of trouble, man. And can Baker? Can he pull this together? Can he get healed? Can he get right? Can the Browns, or is it over? I mean, the injuries, the OBJ thing, a couple other things have happened. I mean, they've been through some adversity. I just don't know that they can right this ship. I don't know if they're going to do it against Baltimore, in Baltimore, coming down the stretch towards the playoffs. I'm concerned because I think the Browns are good enough to be in the playoffs, and at this point, I'm not sure they're even going to make the playoffs. I'm taking the Ravens.
Yeah, it's with the Browns, it's kind of disheartening. Like, we know just how good they were when they were fully healthy, but because of the slew of injuries that they've had throughout the course of the season and the OBJ thing, it seems like everything's starting to fall apart. I know they won last week at 13-10 against the Detroit Lions, but yeah, I don't know if Baker can pull together. The dude's definitely out there trying. I think he has like 3 different injuries, and he's still playing through it all, trying to do it, trying to win for this football team and for this city. And I hear Cleveland Browns fans all the time, like, completely trashing Baker Mayfield, wanting to get rid of this guy. Like, do you not understand what he has done for your organization the last couple of years? Do you not remember the 2 decades before the last 2 years and what this guy has pretty much done for you? And you're going to sit there and turn your back on him because he's sitting there fighting through 3 injuries to get out there on the field to give you a chance of winning football games. So Cleveland Browns fans, this is why you guys suck, have always sucked. because you guys treat your players like shit, even though they're out there dying on the field for you, and you're turning your back on them. So shame on you. That's my little rant for the day. With that said, the Baltimore Ravens, even though I'm not high on them, they're still finding ways to win even without Lamar Jackson on the field. So I'm taking the Ravens.
Now, I happen to strongly disagree with the fact that, you're talking about the Browns. Don't remember what it's like to be miserable and this and that. Look, what Baker's done in Cleveland, there are a lot of quarterbacks throughout the NFL that could do at least what he's done with that team.
Well, there was like 50 of them that didn't, so
those quarterbacks didn't have the talent that he does. The GM, Andrew Brandt, the GM for the Browns, ever since he came in, he has built that team to be stacked around him. That defense has a bunch of stars on it. That offense has a great offensive line, one of the best offensive lines in the league. You added Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr. That didn't work out. But Kareem Hunt as a number 2 running back to Nick Chubb. Like, the talent around Baker is incredible. And most of the quarterbacks that they chose before Baker are worse than Baker, and they deserve to lose a lot. But what I'm saying is this team, the teams that Baker has been given, there are a lot of guys in the NFL that could do at least what Baker has done, and taking this team further in the playoffs than what Baker has. Baker is average at best. And with him playing the way he is, with all the injuries that he has, I like Kevin Stefanski as a coach, but he's being a dumbass. Take him out. You have Case Keenum, who went to an NFC championship team with the Vikings team that was decent. So let Case Keenum take this team over and try to win you games. At what point are you going to see Baker in this offense doing absolutely nothing every week, even against the Lions? And you're just going to be like, all right, well, he's got a torn labrum and a shoulder that dislocates every 10 snaps, and his knee is hurt and his ankle is hurt and his elbow is hurt. But we're just going to go ahead and leave this guy out here to continue getting killed, even though he's hurting our football team. The Browns are doing nothing correctly right now, and it's showing on the field. I expect that to continue because, like Zach mentioned, the Ravens won a game without Lamar Jackson. So assuming he comes back for this game, I'm going to be taking Lamar Jackson and the Ravens to dominate the Cleveland Browns.
All right, so I want to jump in here and address comments from both of you. Because I agree with both of you, but I disagree. Hefe, I disagree with a little bit of what you said. This is only Baker's 4th year in the league, right? And they are building this team around him, and he is hurt this year. And they came out of the gate. They came out of the gate this year, and I thought, holy shit, look, what's happened in Cleveland? But he is hurt, and that does make a huge difference. And it is only his 4th year. I guess what I would like to say, without completely countering what you're saying, I would like to say I would love to have seen the Browns without the OBJ bullshit and Mayfield being healthy. I'd like to see where the record would be at right now, because we could be having a different conversation. They could only have 2 losses. It could have just worked like it was supposed to. But with that said, the Browns are a disappointment. They should be better than they are, and that's really hard to argue with. The other thing I want to say is, I don't want to be over dramatic and make a bigger deal out of this than it really is, but there's Lamar Jackson didn't play yesterday because of a mysterious illness that they're not talking about. I don't know if you guys realize that. And I've looked today. I looked just a few minutes ago, and I still didn't see an update. I don't know what that means. I know the flu has been ruled out, and I know COVID's been ruled out. I don't know what it means. It could just be some type of gastrointestinal bug, and they're just not telling us, or it could be something bigger. Let's hope it's not something bigger and something to do with his health, and he does come back. I'm not a Ravens fan, and obviously I went the Colts to win. There's a couple of teams that I'd like to see win before the Ravens. I don't think the other thing about the Ravens is the Ravens have there's 2 arguments to be made here. They're 7-3,
mm-hmm.
But they've been 3 of those games have been overtimes, right? And a couple of others have been really, really close. So the other side of that argument is they are minutes away from having a 3-7 record. And if they don't get their shit together, they're not going to make it through the playoffs like that. It's not going to happen. So with that said, I hope Lamar Jackson is healthy. I hope he comes back. You want to see everybody there. I hate to see players injured and players out. I like teams to win because they're supposed to win because everybody's there. I know it really doesn't happen. I do think the Ravens will win this week because I think the Browns, everything's falling apart completely in their hands. But the Ravens better get their shit together or they won't have another postseason again this year. All right, moving on. Last one. Seahawks at the Washington football team. I probably won't even turn this one on, to be honest. I can't stand that gum-chomping bastard. Wilson's, I don't know if you've been catching the gossip, but Wilson's on his way out. They're talking about blockbuster trades and all this. They're like roaches, man. When you see one, there's hundreds of them behind the wall that you don't see. If there's rumors out now, there's a whole bunch going on that we can't even see happening. I can't believe that's sitting well in the locker room. It looks like that. It probably is more like they realize the season's gone. And Wilson's going to be gone, and they got to do something to start rebuilding now. And they're going to try to get 2 or 3 first-round draft picks for the guy. That means that the locker room's probably just completely disintegrating. I don't see them coming on the road to Washington. And Washington's nothing spectacular, but they've shown they can beat some people. And I don't see the Seahawks coming in to Washington and beat them on Monday night and taking the Washington football team.
Yeah, if you remember back in the offseason, there was that whole Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson not getting along thing. Russell's wanting out, but then Russell came out and said, "Oh, everything's fine. We're good. Let's get it going." Well, now look at him. The ship is completely crashing and burning. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So no doubt in my mind that the rumors are true. I definitely think this is going to be a breakup, probably in the offseason. Russell's either going to be hitting the door or they're going to be letting Pete Carroll go, one of the two, which you'll be happy about that if they do that, right?
Yeah.
They let Pete Carroll go.
I'd love it.
Yeah. So, I definitely don't see this relationship between those two lasting very much longer. The Seahawks just are not looking good. Washington surprised people the last couple of weeks, had a big win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a couple of weeks ago, and then they went in for Cam Newton's homecoming, which happened to be Ron Rivera's homecoming as well, going back to Carolina. They came out with a victory there. So, by all means, Washington's looking decent. The Seahawks are looking completely awful. So I'm taking Washington at home this week.
Yeah, if you ever want to know how much week 1 in the NFL is just not important at all, look at week 1 when the Colts played the Seahawks and look where those teams have gone since that point. It's completely changed since that day. So, the Seahawks, they can't get it together. I don't know if the pin in Russ's finger is affecting what he's doing or if it's just the regression we've seen from him and the regression from the offense. Obviously, that offensive line's still not very good. And he has 2 people to throw the ball to. Like, they have made no effort in the past years to get extra receivers to throw into the lineup that can get open for Russell Wilson. So the offense is very bland. They play a boring style of offense for the most part, which is not what we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing Russ hit the deep balls and make games exciting. And the Seahawks, they're just not good. The defense isn't great. It's not the worst in the league, but it's a little better than last year. But the Seahawks defense is trash. The offense can't get it going, whether that's the scheme or Russ himself, whatever it is. But Washington is winning games now. They did the same thing last year toward the end of the season where they kind of got things rolling and squeaked into the playoffs. That's probably not going to happen this year. But as of right now, Washington feels like the better team. So I'm going to take Washington in a low-scoring game.
Okay. We're all 3 taking the Washington football team. And this is the only time I'm going to say this week. You probably should too. I feel that strongly about it. But if I'm wrong, I don't want to hear it. Send your emails to somebody else. Who cares? It won't be me. All right, let's take a look at the playoff picture. All right, so number 1 spot is still the Tennessee Titans at 8-3, leading the AFC with the best record overall. That will probably change this week. They're playing the New England Patriots, and Baltimore 7-3, New England 7-4, Kansas City 7-4. So I imagine that they won't be in sole possession of that number one spot, though they still will be, regardless of what happens, they will still be at the top of the AFC South. Baltimore's in the number 2 spot currently at 7-3. They're playing Cleveland. Cincinnati's trying to creep up on them at 6-4, probably getting a win. So Baltimore needs to win this week to keep that AFC North lead. They may move into first if they win this week. New England's at 7-4, and they're playing Tennessee, so they may also vie for that top spot if they get a win and Baltimore loses. But they have taken the lead in the AFC East over the Buffalo Bills, and Kansas City with that big win over Dallas puts them at 7-4. They are atop of the AFC West. Coming to number 5 is Cincinnati at 6-4. The Chargers are at 6th at 6-4. The Buffalo Bills are at 7th at 6-4. They all have big games. I mean, the Chargers have Denver. The Bengals have Pittsburgh. Buffalo is in New Orleans. Pittsburgh's right behind them at 5-4-1, and the Colts are right behind them 6-5, playing at home against the Bucs this week. Not to be left out, Cleveland is at 6-5. They're right there too, and they play Baltimore. So with a win, they can move themselves up. So this picture is right now is very wide open, and we are going to start seeing the men separate from the boys in the coming weeks. Anything you guys want to add?
Not a whole lot. It appears that if I had to guess, the Raiders and Browns are going to slip down. The Broncos might stay in contention if they could pull out a win here. So it's kind of narrowing. I think we are eliminated a team or two from having a solid chance of getting into the playoffs. But regardless, it's going to be interesting to see what happens this next 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Cincinnati is going to beat Pittsburgh. I think they'll move down. I think that Baltimore is going to beat Cleveland and they'll move down. I think Indianapolis is going to win and they're going to move up. So the two big ones to watch are the Chargers Broncos game and the Bills and the Saints to really see that jockeying for those 6 and 7 spots. We could have a completely different look this time next week. Anything you want to say, Hefe?
Mostly just, I like that Bengals Steelers game. One of those teams has to lose. No, I mean, of course, unless it's a tie. But assuming one of these teams has to lose, either way that goes, that plays well for the Colts if the Colts can figure out how to beat the Bucs. So, they might not move up into the bubble quite well. No. They might not move into the playoff picture, but they'll be the first team out of the bubble if the Steelers or Bengals lose this week.
Yeah. But the biggest thing is the Colts need to control their own destiny. We've talked about that before. If you start needing other teams to lose, you have no business being in the playoffs. And they need to take care of their business from here forward.
You said that last week, and right after we got done recording, it popped in my head to combat that with the 2 Giants Super Bowls, especially the one over the Patriots. They were I believe the 6th seed ended up beating the Patriots.
Fair enough. But let's go with more often than not. How's that?
Yeah, there we go.
Can we settle on that one? All right. So taking a look at the NFC picture, the Cardinals are way at the top at 9-2. I mean, they're only the Packers are 8-3. Packers did not do themselves any favors yesterday by losing to the Vikings, but Arizona's 9-2, sitting top of the NFC West. They pretty much have their destiny cut out in front of them. This number 1 spot is theirs to lose. Can we all agree on that?
Yeah, I think that's safe to say.
Yeah. Green Bay is at 2nd, 8-3 at the top of the NFC North. There isn't a team within miles of the Packers in that division again this year. Dallas is top of the NFC East at 7-3. No one's really going to challenge them for that unless they do a complete spin out, which I don't see that happening. I know they've been a little shaky, but I don't see them completely spinning out. Tampa Bay is ahead, top of the NFC South in the 4th spot at 6-3. I really don't see them losing that either. The Rams are in the 5th spot at 7-3. Pretty safe place to be. When you look at the teams below the Rams, we talked about this last week. You've got Minnesota in 6th place at 5-5, New Orleans at 7th place at 5-5, San Francisco at 8th place at 5-5, Philadelphia at 9th place at 5-6, Carolina at 10th place at 5-6. So we drop off the table really quick. And more importantly than just those records, which seems like Minnesota is only 2 games behind the Rams, there's a huge disparity between the tier the Rams are on and the tier that the Vikings and the Saints and the 49ers are on. So I think the Rams are pretty safe. I don't think they're going to catch Arizona. They could. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think the Rams are probably pretty much a lock for that 5th spot. And we'll watch these other play out. But again, Philadelphia, Minnesota is so inconsistent. New Orleans is so inconsistent. San Francisco is so inconsistent. And Philadelphia appears to be getting better. I'm at this point, I'm not ready to put money on it, but I think the Eagles are going to find their way into that 7th spot. I really do.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to talk about the Eagles, and because you talked about how the Cowboys pretty much have the NFC East locked up, and I just don't think that's necessarily the case. Because again, this week I in the pick'em I have the Cowboys losing, and I have the Eagles winning, which will make the Eagles 1 game back if that's the case. And then it's anybody's game. And at the moment, the Eagles are hotter than the Cowboys. Cowboys seem to be struggling. So I think the Eagles have a chance at least to come up and get that. It'll be tough for them. But I do think that they've made a case to be one of the teams that bounces up into the playoffs. I could see them even being the 6th seed, have the Vikings fall down to the 7th seed, and maybe even the Niners. The Niners have looked pretty good over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, a win against the Rams will do that for you. So maybe even they make it in. Whoever gets the last 2 spots in the NFC, it's going to be an interesting fight. I think there right now 4 or 5 teams that it could be. Depending on how they play over the next few weeks. But the Eagles seem like a team that's for sure going to make it in right now.
Okay, so now that you've said that, and I go back and look, I still think that the NFC East is the Cowboys to lose. But now that you've said that, looking ahead at the schedules, the Eagles have the Giants, the Jets, the Washington football team, the Giants, Washington football team, and then the Cowboys. On the other hand, the Cowboys have the Raiders, the Saints, Washington football team, the Giants, Washington football team, the Cardinals, and then the Eagles. So when you start doing some math there, the Eagles, if the Cowboys drop to the Cardinals and maybe even drop one to the Raiders or the Saints, and the Eagles win a proportionally equal amount coming in, we may have a fight for NFC East. I think a lot has to go the Eagles' way for that to happen, but it's just even crazy. It's crazy that we're even having this conversation, that the Eagles may win the NFC East.
And I mean, in true NFC East fashion, I feel like it's every year with the NFC East. It always comes down to the last week of the season when 2 teams play each other. And of course, the Eagles and the Cowboys play in Week 18 this year, and that's gonna be the game for the division, in my opinion.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome to see. Is that it? Anything else you guys want to say?
Nope. I think we pretty much covered it. Oh, actually, there's one note I want. It's not huge news or anything. But Taysom Hill signed, even though in the offseason, Taysom Hill signed a 4-year, $160 million deal that was like nothing guaranteed, and all 4 years were voidable. It was a really weird contract. Taysom Hill has signed a 4-year hybrid type extension worth between $40 and $95 million, with $22.5 million of that guaranteed. So it's not huge news, but a pretty big contract for pretty relevant players who signed a big contract, a 4-year contract in the offseason. I just thought that was really weird and worth mentioning.
Yeah. We'll have to see how that plays out and see what that means for their future at the quarterback position. As the rest of the season plays out and into the offseason. All right, that does it for this week. We want to remind you to please be sure to show us some love and like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends and your Nana. Be sure to tell them they can catch not only our weekly rundown, but our Fantasy Draft Central show on Thursdays at 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on WUBI Ubiquity Radio. Find out more at WUBI.live. And it's never too late to join the ESPN Pigskin Pick'em Challenge. Find the link pinned at the top of our Facebook and Twitter pages at Horsemen Sports, or just go to ESPN Pigskin Pick'em site and type in Horsemen Sports. Find us there. We announce the weekly winners each week. It's a lot of fun. We'd love to have you. And of course, we will see you back here again next week for week 13. We hope that you and your family have a wonderful Thanksgiving, enjoying the games, and we'll see you next week. Deuces.